watching us on Money Control. I'm Ridhima Bhatnagar. The Union Budget 2021 is round the corner, and of course, expectations are many, wish lists are many from the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. Of course, we're very tired of hearing the word unprecedented, new normal, but that's really what 2020 has been all about. Industries have taken a hit, economy has taken a hit, but of course, in those challenges, there have been some opportunities as well. So today we thought we'll take a pulse of what the industry is expecting from Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. I have a very, very exciting panel with me, and I want to begin this with Ritu. I'll give the first word to the lady. Ritu, of course, this year hasn't been easy on any of us, neither in terms of the regular citizens, neither in terms of the business or the economy. As we move into 2021, with the union budget will be closely watched because we'll be hoping to get some sort of relief, some sort of stimulus from the finance minister. What's on top of your wish list?
Okay, I do have a long wish list, but for paucity of time, I shall narrow it down to one, which I think will resonate well in the current situation, and that is, and especially if you have heard about the recent wage code notification and some of the changes that have been suggested, I think it has worried many professionals to the extent where many believe that it could impact their net take home. So my recommendation or my suggestion to the FM would be that it's important that we make Employees Provident Fund actually voluntary. And because this is going to be a huge relief for unskilled, skilled workers to help them manage their take home, because liquidity is very important.
Of course, there have been certain sectors that have been bruised and battered, but there have been an opportunity for a lot of sectors as well, which has been the education sector, for example, especially education startups, to make this divide from going from physical to the online, to bridge that divide essentially. And Sashi, I want to take the question first to you. Of course, as we were talking even before we started recording, that there has been opportunities as well for businesses, especially the education sector. If you look at a recent report by NASSCOM, they're saying they're expecting education startups to grow as much as $3.5 billion by 2022. Do you then think that probably we'll see a substantial amount of allocation to education this year?
One would hope so. And along with education, I think what will also be important is that the government spends a lot on infrastructure, both physical and digital. A lot of companies, including big ones like TCS and Infosys, have announced that a significant number of their roles are going to be work from home or be flexible.
Yeah.
So the government can try and look and see how they can leverage this trend and build infrastructure in some of our tier 2, tier 3 cities, so that it makes it easy for companies that have the flexibility of having people working from different places, hire these people in smaller locations.
The other sector that we're hoping will see a lot of focus is the healthcare sector. Dr. Soin, I want to bring you in here. 2020 always opened a Pandora's box and also made us aware of where our healthcare really stands, not just in terms of the doctors and the patients, but also the common man, and how much difficulty the common man probably has in terms of just getting a hospital, what are the costs involved. The healthcare sector has to be the top priority for this union budget. As somebody who's been involved, who's seen this over the last 1 year so closely, what are you hoping for?
Well, the answer is obvious. The public healthcare spend needs to increase from a paltry 1.3 to 1.5% to somewhere near the 2 mark, and so that we can go up to 2.5 public health spending and overall health spend to about 5% that's being aimed for by 2025. So, but what do we need to spend the money on? So it's pretty clear that COVID has brought the healthcare issues to the forefront.
Yeah.
And technology and innovation have actually become inseparable parts of the entire narrative. And we've seen that digital health apps were used for contact tracing. We were seeing telemedicine consultations like never before. In fact, they're here to stay. At present, from about 10%, my telemedicine consultations, and that goes for all doctors, has gone up to 50%.
Yeah.
So obviously, telemedicine solutions, digital health apps, diagnostic software, all these came to the fore during the pandemic, and they have to be pushed and encouraged.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the government keeps saying that the private healthcare needs to pitch in, and that's for sure. PPP has to work in a harmonious manner. And where do the private healthcare people come in here? One is, of course, a percentage of the Ayushman Bharat has to be serviced at all levels, primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary. The second is that insurance, universal insurance must come in, because out-of-pocket expense becomes profitable, basically not doable by most of the people.
Yeah.
So you have to have universal health insurance.
Karan, you're somebody who deals with the education space. Now, of course, essentially what I want to understand is what is the kind of feedback that you've got from students and parents alike? What are they hoping for? What are the kind of reliefs they're hoping for? Students have been one community that have been impacted massively this year, whether it was the divide that they had to make from physical classrooms to online, whether it was taking exams during the COVID era, the mental and the physical stress, associated with it. What is the student community hoping for?
We need to invest more in online learning and have the budget allocate a significant amount to online education, which includes high-speed internet access in the most remotest parts of the country, and of course, cheaper computers for the economically weaker sections. Now, another thing is that we're saying that by 2030, over 250 million students are expected to enroll in schools in India. With the teacher-student ratio of 1:35, India needs 7.5 million teachers to address this huge student population. Those teachers need to have graduated with a B.Ed degree, but the math doesn't add up. We need more B.Ed programs to produce more teachers. And we all know that teaching is one of the lowest paid professions in India, with an average teacher earning around 2 lakhs a year. So more fund allocation is required from the government to fund teachers, more scholarships and subsidizing education loans for the students.
There's been a lot of interest in stock markets this year. But aside from that, what is the one sector that you're looking at? Are you seeing a better push for MSMEs this year?
MSME was one sector that firstly employs a lot of people. And secondly, they were the ones who did not have the resources or the capacity to quickly transition their business model to online. Taxation was reduced for companies last year, specifically manufacturing companies. But then most MSMEs follow a partnership structure. So thereby they couldn't get that benefit. And now is the time when they really need that taxation is reduced for partnerships as well as LLPs, so that the most deserving MSMEs are able to utilize those tax benefits.
How is the job market looking like for 2021? What are people who are in the job market or stepping into the job market expecting from the budget?
A significant number of employees or job seekers believe that 2021 is going to be brighter than 2020. We believe there's going to be more job creation. And in fact, we've seen it. I mean, if you were to look at real-time jobs data, if you were to leave out tech, in the non-tech, we are back to pre-pandemic levels of hiring. And by Q1, we will see that extending to the tech world as well. So we will definitely see a lot of job creation. That's definitely on. As I said, there were some high-touch industries like tourism, food service and preparation. That saw significant downturn, but there is latent demand. All of us want to go out and have lunch with our friends. When this thing does end, when this pandemic ends and when it's safe to go out, we'll definitely see a revival of those sectors and therefore more jobs.
We definitely need to rationalize, decriminalize, and digitize the entire compliance environment. India has 70,000 compliance, more than 6,600 filings, and more than 1,500 acts to deal with. We cannot aspire to be a country which is ranking top 50 in ease of doing business if we do not deal with it on priority, not just at the central level, even at the state-specific level.
I think the themes are pretty clear. You have to have more job creation. You need to have a focus on the healthcare sector, our COVID warriors, our frontline workers. There needs to be more liquidity in the center as well as in the system. And those are some themes that we really hope that the finance minister will be paying close attention.
And we need better bandwidth.
Of course, it's just round the corner now, so we will know it very soon whether all these wish lists have come true or not. Thank you for taking our time and doing this for us. It's been great chatting with all of you.